What's good, everyone? This is RawTruth Media, giving you the raw content that you deservedly need. Please like and share this video throughout all social media platforms. Today, we're going to talk about MEAC versus SWAC challenge, FAMU versus Norfolk State. This is the postgame. Here's some things I was impressed with. Let me start with FAMU. I was impressed with their quarterback play, Daniel Richardson. Now, I've heard about Daniel Richardson. I know he played at FAU. Had over 2,000 yards passing, had 13 touchdowns. So I knew he would provide a spark consistency somewhat to this team. But Daniel Richardson was as good as advertised, even better than I thought. This may sound controversial, but I truly feel this way. And you never know. FAMU may not have the same record as last year. We'll see. But I know one thing's a fact. Daniel Richardson is a better quarterback than Jeremy Musa, and there's no competition. I'm not trying to, be Mr. Controversial. It's just what I see, and that may bode well for FAMU. Daniel Richardson, he does this one thing that Musa didn't do last season. He improvises better, especially throwing on a run. He's very dangerous. He's tough to take down. With that ability, and this is, I know he's not a 6'4", 6'5", 240 quarterback, but being 6 foot, 200 plus, that's a strong person to bring down for sacks. But what impressed me the most with Daniel Richardson was his leadership. FAMU was down by 14 points. Not only was he calm and composed and ready to bring on the answers to this challenge, I looked on the sidelines. And what did I see? Richardson getting his team ready, and not just regular rah-rah speech. It was a real man-to-man conversation. Man, I tell you, the players looked like they would run through a brick wall for him. It was that type of impact. And things change, man. Things change when that speech happened at that sideline. Now, for the skill player I was most impressed with FAMU, Jamar Gassett. Jamar Gassett, bar none, the best playmaker of the night, in the skill position, that is. 8 catches, 100-plus yards. Norfolk had no answers for him. They tried to bracket him. It didn't work. They tried to do all types of stuff. It just did not work. He lined up outside, inside. They had no answers for him. And if he keeps this up, especially in the SWAC, I think they got Miami next game. If he has a great performance against Miami, I believe Miami has a senior DB, correct me if I'm wrong, family, that's an NFL prospect. I know he wants to show out for the scouts in that game. If he keeps this up, you never know. Maybe he gets a camp invite or even get drafted. FAMU has been producing these quick twitch wide receivers lately, and they got one with him and Jamar Gassett. Now, Gassett, he was a baller last year, but he didn't have this role like he does this year. So I'm excited to see his progression. The running backs really didn't run like I think they would in this game, meaning Dean and Thad Franklin. But throughout the season, you start seeing more of them. A 1-2 punch. Dean is their lightning back. Thad Franklin is the power back. So it's thunder and lightning. If FAMU can find a way to establish the run game efficiently and not over rely on Richardson's passing ability, because there's going to be some teams where you just can't pass all day. You can get yourself in a bind. So those are some things I'm looking forward to. Some of the weaknesses I saw on FAMU, the interior D-line was not the same as last year. That's noticeable. Even though the edges are really good, a team that in their schedule that has good interior offensive line could cause problems. If Norfolk State was able to get rushing yards that easily, especially in the first half, can you imagine a team that has more talent than them? And I'm not saying Norfolk State has no talent, but they're not on that level just yet. They're still building in some areas. I know they returned, 80+% of their players. But still, they're a long way to go. But in conclusion, kudos to Coach Cozy for winning his first game. And I truly believe in giving a first-year coach time. I was the same way with T.C. Taylor. When I said that T.C. Taylor being 7-4 was really good because most first-year coaches don't do better than that, they thought I was crazy. But it makes sense. It's really hard to have a good record your first year unless you inherit a team with a bunch of talent. I mean a bunch of talent. So FAMU fans, be patient with Coach Cozy. I still believe he will have a above 500 record, mainly due to the talent with this team. Not too many players were poached off this team. Some were, but not too many. It wasn't like Jackson State last season where they have, it probably was like 50 players poached out. Yeah, it was that serious. And now to Norfolk State. Coach Odoms. I respect the fact that he wants to develop high school players. We all do. Any sensible mind would want that. The problem is, y'all know I've said this before. If you're not winning enough, you at least need to fill your weaknesses with portal players. Now, I'm all for high school recruiting. Trust me, I hate when teams oversaturate their rosters with portal players. Look at Florida State. They lost to a Georgia Tech team that returned a lot of players, didn't do too much portal additions, and the only portal additions that they made was a strength to add a strength to a strength. 3 players in that starting lineup, and it made a difference. That's it. Whereas Florida State had nothing but portal players, and they had no chemistry, and you saw how that turned out. So there's examples of this. My problem with Dawson Odoms, brother, it's hard to win only on high school talent. The only portal addition that they made, correct me if I'm wrong, was the quarterback. I'm talking about the one that's starting. He has good measurables, 6'5", 220, 230. He can run. So hopefully that changes, but I truly respect him. And I think that's why Southern moved on from him, because they wanted a coach that was new to these times. And Coach Odoms has an old school mentality. Nothing wrong with it, but even Nick Saban had to change a little bit before he retired. And he's won at every level. But here's some things I did like. I like that running game. Now, I knew they had a talented running back in Kevon King. But that offensive line was stout than a mug. The center, I don't know his name. Let me know in the comment section. But that's a bad boy. The communications, the checks on the line was perfect. The counters. The only problem was, and this is just how Coach Odoms did, he fell in love with the run too much. Now, if they were running the ball in the second half like Georgia Tech was against Florida State last night, I would have understood. But even Georgia Tech at least has some attempt, like do some screen plays. Don't just do the quarterback dive and counters. You got to be creative. And he fell in love with that run. There was a quote that Coach Odom said. He said, well, we were able to run the ball on the defending national champions. That's somewhat true in the first half. But the second half, I truly believe FAMU buckled down on that. Yeah, they got a couple runs, but it wasn't like the first half, and that was just enough. That's when you needed to be creative. Nine throwing attempts is not enough. 9 throwing attempts. So if Norfolk State, who is a lot better than I thought, And it makes sense because they return, I believe, 80 plus players. So they're getting better, but you got to finish these games. You got to be creative. The only time Coach Odoms should feel like running the ball 70-something% of the time is when you're playing against weak teams, Division II teams. And they got the receivers. Like, brothers like Jaquez Jones and them, Cameron Thomas, those are explosive receivers. So it's not like they're lacking that much on talent. They're not on FAMU's level, but they have the pieces. I'm not saying that Norfolk State doesn't need to run the ball a lot, but mix it up. And I'm going back to Georgia Tech. Yeah, they ran the ball a lot, but man, they were so creative with where's the reversers and the run pass options? They didn't do enough run pass option in this game. And if they would have done it in this matchup, you never know. They could come out victorious. But Norfolk State, they did a lot better than I thought. Again, they just fell in love with that run. Coach Odoms, he loves doing that. That's his DNA. But they have the pieces. The DBs of Norfolk, that's going to be their Achilles heel. And actually, there was a couple of plays, especially in the third quarter, blown assignments. They were lucky that there were some drops by FAMU because it really could have been a double-digit loss potentially. But it didn't happen. But just something I pointed out. But you have something there. You have a strong quarterback that's athletic, pretty strong arm, not really accurate, but you have some pieces. With an athletic quarterback and a running back like Kayvon King, you can make some noise. The MEAC, the only problem is you got North Carolina Central, and then you got my favorite, Morgan State, who I believe is a sleeper. And look out for the South Carolina State Bulldogs. Coach Berry's going to have them right, and that's FAMU's opponent next week, so I'm definitely going to tune into that. This is RawTruth Media, giving you the raw content that you deservedly need. Peace and blessings, peace and love, and I'm out.